Hello, and welcome to God, Health, and Relationships, an educational podcast where I tackle the most elusive questions about life, such as what is the source of truth? Why is optimal health so difficult to achieve and maintain? And how do I find true love and keep it? Now, these are questions that if you don't have, then you're not going to want to listen to this podcast. But if you do have questions about life, then you have come to the right place. And I've entitled this first episode, Who is Dr. Dave and why should you listen to him? That's an important question to consider, um, because time is our most valuable commodity. And I don't want you wasting your time listening to this podcast if it isn't going to do you any good. But I feel that it will. And I'm going to tell you why briefly in this first episode. So, why am I doing this? First of all, you have to have a purpose in everything you do in life. Why is probably the most important question that you can ask yourself and others. And I'm doing this podcast because number one, because I love to teach. I've developed a love for teaching over the years that really started in my youth. I was raised in a very religious household. Would go to church every Sunday, and my church is very active in education, and I developed this love for it, for learning, and then teaching. And I feel that there is so much deception in the world today that people don't know where to find truth. And they have questions about God, health, and relationships. And I feel that my experiences have really allowed me to be someone who could answer those questions for you. I can relate. And my teaching, as far as, me wanting to start an educational podcast, um, I I at the age of 19, after I graduated from high school, one of the first things I did was go to college. Like many of my peers, I graduated from Burbank High School in Southern California in 1987, and I just wanted to get out of the house. Like most teenagers, I was tired of living with my parents, wanted to get away, meet new people, was excited to meet new people. And I didn't know what I wanted to do in life, but I knew that I wanted to learn, that I wanted to get an education, a college education. And so I did that at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. And my freshman year, I had a wonderful experience. I lived with my best friend growing up there in Burbank, and it was just wonderful. It was just wonderful being away from home, being on my own, meeting new people from all over the world. Brigham Young University is a global university. There's students from all over the world, for the most part, members of the LDS church, which I am a member of. And, it was just a wonderful experience. But it was the whole time, that freshman year, it was in preparation for going on a mission. And I had planned on doing this since I was a young boy. Like I said, I was raised in the church, and just that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to serve my Savior Jesus Christ, and go on a mission for Him, and teach His gospel. And so that's really what I spent my freshman year doing, is just preparing for that, knowing that was going to be what I did at the age of 19. And sure enough, when that mission call came, I was super excited. I always wanted to go to Australia, Spanish speaking. I got the Spanish speaking part, but not the Australia part, which is perfectly fine because I've learned to trust in the Lord and everything that I do in my life, and I've always done that, and it's never led me. He's never led me astray. So I got my call to serve in San Jose, Costa Rica. I was to enter the MTC, the Missionary Training Center, in August of two. No, I'm sorry, in June. I'm sorry, June of 1988. Wow, I'm dating myself at the age of 19. And I was so excited. I was so excited to go to Costa Rica. I'd never been to a foreign country before. And it was just the most incredible experience, the foundation for the rest of my life. I wouldn't change it for anything. Um, I, I gained a love for people and for teaching on that mission for 2 years. And I don't know if you're familiar with how LDS missions go, but for the most part, you're working from 9:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night, 7 days a week, for 2 years straight. And all you're doing is teaching the beliefs of the church. And that's what I did in Spanish, which is not my native language. And it was just, I just gained a love for teaching. And so when I finished my mission and returned to Brigham Young University, I knew that I had a skill. I knew I had a skill for learning a language, and I had learned Spanish really well. Not everybody has that skill, and I know that. Um, but I tested out of all the 100 and 200 level courses at Brigham Young University and started basically as a third year Spanish major at Brigham Young University. And the interesting thing is, as I was going through school, I knew wanted to get a degree in Spanish, but I didn't know what I wanted to do after school. And my senior year, here I am about ready to graduate in Spanish. I'm like, well, what's next? What am I going to do? What am I going to do with the Spanish degree? I liked business. I liked doing business and being in business and the thought of being an entrepreneur. So I sat down with my counselor, and this is kind of a funny story because this was probably 1993, I want to say. Starting my senior year, I'm like, w- you know, what should I do? I'm finishing up my degree in Spanish. Help me out here. And so, of course, they recommended, because of my interest in business, that when I graduated with my Spanish degree, that I should basically, do a volunteer program that they had going on, like an internship where I would intern at a like some type of global business company for 2 years, and then come back to Brigham Young University and get my MBA. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, that's going to be another 4 years, and I might not even like what I'm doing after going through those 4 years. And so the reason that's funny is that I didn't end up finding out what I wanted to do with my life until years later. This is 1993. I didn't even find out what I wanted to do until 2000, um, or even after 2000. And so uh, the thing is, is that our perspective changes as we grow, and like, we're really impatient when we're younger, and that's probably the greatest attribute that I've learned throughout the years is patience, and patience in the Lord. And so anyway, um what happened, I'll just finish the story. um I ended up changing my major. I changed my major to physical therapy, because I'm like, do I really want to go into business? And will I like it? What I really like is working out. I mean, I like the human body. I like working with the human body, and I love being healthy and helping people be healthy. And so I changed my major to physical therapy, and I I decided really quickly that, hey, if I'm going to do physical therapy, I need to do it somewhere other than Brigham Young University. So I changed my major back back to Spanish, finished it up, moved back home to California, and started working as a physical therapist aide in geriatrics there in Burbank at a place called Beverly Manor Rehabilitation Center. They didn't even hire me because of my skill in physical therapy. I mean, they hired me because of my Spanish, which was kind of interesting. But at the time, I was taking classes to become a physical therapist at LA Valley College, and it was just going so slow. I mean, I wanted to start making money. I wanted to start, I didn't have patience. And like I said, that's something that I definitely have learned over the years. But so what happened is that I I was getting experience in the different physical therapy fields. For instance, geriatrics, I got that at Beverly Manor Rehabilitation Center. Prior to that, my last year of college, I worked for one of the top physical therapists in Utah in an outpatient setting. It was a beautiful facility where I did ultrasound, e-stem, massage, um, put together exercise programs for people that were getting physical therapy. So I'd got the outpatient, I'd got the geriatrics, the acute type of care. I got that experience at Encino Hospital in Southern California, where I worked for a temp agency, and they would kind of send me out to get experience and get a little bit of pay in physical therapy. But like I said, I was concerned because my GPA really wasn't at the level that it needed to be in order to become a physical therapist. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up working in the Burbank Unified School District as a substitute teacher. And this was a perfect job for me at the time because I was single. You could call the night before and just kind of, hey, what's available? I'm going to pick this job. This sounds good. And it was just a wonderful time. It was pretty good pay for the time. It was $85 a day and for glorified babysitting. I mean, you start like at 7 or 8 in the morning, you're done by 2 or 3 in the afternoon. You just follow the teachers' plans for the day, whatever their plans were, and that's it. And I loved it because every day I'd go into a new classroom, I'd meet students, I'd answer questions they had, and it was kind of like I was on my mission again in Costa Rica, which was, by the way, the happiest 2 years of my life. And so, I was doing this, um, and it was great because I was single. I didn't have any responsibility. I didn't have to earn a lot of money. I was still living at home. It was a good time in my life. But as it were, as I substitute taught, it kind of developed into a full time teaching position at Burroughs High School. And I started teaching full time in 1998. And it was going great, but it was interesting because I was known as the cool sub in the district, and I would work a lot at Burroughs and my alma mater, Burbank High School, substitute teaching. I'd actually done a full time stint for a semester at Burbank High, where my youngest sister, I taught her her Spanish class, and it was crazy because I mean. I wanted these students to learn, but not everybody in high school wants to learn, um, and not everybody's there for learning. And when it comes to Spanish, I mean that is a complete weeder class because most of the time people only take that class because it's a requirement for college. for to go to like and that was the case back then. To go to a Cal State University, you had to have a year or two. I think a 2 years of a language, and Spanish was an easy language to learn. Probably easier than French or Latin, and so most students chose Spanish, and they were in my class because they had to be there, not because they wanted to be there. And it was great. I enjoyed it. I put my heart and soul into it, but I wasn't getting the support from the administration that I really was looking for. And so um, I started to get kind of discouraged, if you will, about teaching, and it was mainly because of that lack of support. I took my job very seriously, but a lot of my students didn't, and so they were disrupting class. And because they knew me as the cool sub, it was hard for them to see me as their regular teacher. That hey, this is the guy that's going to be here every day, not just on those days where my regular teacher isn't here, and he's going to be giving my grade, and I have to do the work that he tells me to do, or else there's consequences. And so um long story short, too late, I get it. I ended up getting out of teaching because I just I wasn't I didn't feel like I was appreciated much as a teacher, and I wasn't getting this support from the administration. But I wanted to teach. And so what it led to was me looking into um, chiropractic. And what happened is back in 1996, I was in a snowboarding accident and went to a chiropractor for the first time and had a great experience. And it really kind of stuck with me as I was teaching. Also, I um, I got married in 2000. And so, I'm like, hey, I really need to have a steady job here, and I really have to have a career, and I need to make some more money as well. And teaching, you can't make a lot of money doing that. And so I thought, well, what could I do that I really love, that I could make enough money to support a family of 10? Because my now ex-wife wanted to have 10 kids. I wanted to have 10 kids as well. And I'm like, how am I going to support 10 kids on a cheap teacher salary? So all these things were going through my head as I was transitioning into a new career. Um, and so what happened is I ended up going on the internet, and this was back in probably 2000. When was this? 2001. Right around there, like the beginning of 2001. My wife was pregnant with our first child. um and I'm like, I wasn't teaching anymore. I was actually working for Mass Mutual Financial Group as a financial representative, and I wasn't happy in that work. It was just a job that I got through a friend. After I stopped teaching, it wasn't very gratifying, wasn't very happy. I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? And so I looked into chiropractic, and I'm like, this is doable. I could do this. I can make a career out of this. I could get a doctorate in this. And so that's what my focus began. In 2001, I started taking, excuse me, I started taking prerequisites: physics, chemistry, organic chemistry, which, by the way, I knew nothing about. If it weren't for my teachers, I would have never passed those classes. I took accelerated courses, so I didn't have to, so I could just get it over with as quick as possible, pay the extra money, get the course over with. But when I got accepted to my doctorate program at Cleveland Chiropractic College in Los Angeles, I was very excited. I started it in January of 2003, and it's taken me on a journey that I really want to share with you um, in future episodes of what I've learned about health, our healthcare system, and the opportunity I've had to teach. So when it comes to God, health, and relationships, these have been the most important elements in my life as I look at my 56-year-old life. And I want people to be happy. As I look at the world, there's a lot of unhappiness, there's a lot of grief, there's a lot of misunderstandings when it comes to God, health, and relationships. And in this podcast, I hope to mitigate a lot of those problems, a lot of those questions that you might have. I'm going to end this first episode. I'm really excited to continue with the podcast and take this journey with you. Of course, if you're not interested in learning about God, health, or relationships, it's not the podcast for you. But if those are things that you have questions about and that you'd like to learn more about it and feel like I feel that those are the key to happiness in this life, those three things: God, or a belief in a higher source, your own personal health, and having healthy relationships with others. If those things are important to you, then tune in for our next episode. For now, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next episode.